This is Capital Games. I'm the Wiz. Today, I'm going to cover some of the news that happened this week. I'm recording this right now pretty early at 4 p.m. on Monday, May 29th, 2023. I usually wait until 8 o'clock to actually do this, but Zero and I are going to do a review of Miami Vice and record it tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and watch this after I'm done. And we're going to do that tonight and have that out Tuesday. So I'm going to record this early, get that done, and then go and watch Miami Vice. So we'll have that taken care of for the next couple of days. So that's why I'm doing this early. If there is something that happens after 4 o'clock that I don't cover, that's why. I will definitely cover it on Wednesday when that time comes. But before I get into the news that happened in the past few days and over the weekend, I'm going to talk about the game that's on screen and what I'm playing right now, which is God Wars Future Past. If you get it on Steam or the Switch right now, it's called God Wars: The Complete Legend. And the best way to describe it is a tactical-based RPG in the vein of, I would say, in a lot of ways, the vein of like Final Fantasy Tactics. Only it kind of looks like a cheap-looking PS3 game. The look and the sounds of the game itself are not great. At least with something like with Disgaea, the sprites have a charm to it. Or, let's say, in Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, they have a distinct feel. Other tactical RPGs, like even with chibi versions like Jeanne d'Arc from PSP, they have a distinct look to them that is pleasant. This doesn't look very good, and it looks pretty standard. It looks like really, I would say a low-rent PS3 game to a certain extent. So the look and the sound of the game itself are not that hot. Okay, so if you were to buy the entire game right now on Steam with the DLC, it would be $40, but without the DLC, it's $30. Right now, so far, I've played about an hour and a half of this and about maybe 4 skirmishes. I would say this is a wait for a sale if you have nothing else better to play that and you're just interested in a tactical RPG. Right now, so far, I'm going to play more of it, but from the 4 or 5 battles that I have done so far, it is pretty standard. And it really feels like a pared-down version of Final Fantasy Tactics. Like, so far, I had like 4 or 5 battles, and I've only had 3 characters. So it's decent, but it's not something that I will get excited about or like really recommend to people who really want to play a tactical RPG. There are other games out there that I think are much more desirable, that I would say. Probably like a Fire Emblem game, or play Tactics Ogre or a new Disgaea. I would probably, right now so far, recommend those over this one, like definitely. This is like a mid-tier tactical-based RPG, I would say. The gameplay is fine. It is standard Final Fantasy Tactics. Now, it says on the Steam page that they have different things that they have in the game that differentiates itself from others. I haven't seen them yet. And my feeling with games a lot of the time is if the game is not fun within an hour or two, I'm likely going to drop it. And I'm going to give this a little more time, and hopefully that depth comes up, and then let's say in another hour or so. But if it doesn't, I am probably going to skip this for the next episode and probably not talk about it afterward and just not play it at all. I mean, I was interested in this game because I really like tactical RPGs. If this is a basic game, I will probably sit this down and play something else, and then maybe when I'm bored, come back to it. But so far right now, it's fairly basic. It's fine gameplay-wise, but the look and the sound isn't so hot. The art's okay-ish. I mean, the animation that they have is not bad, but it still feels kind of like old-school PS3 to a certain extent, but not in a good way. Like, not in a nostalgic way. So if I were to say, would you pick this up for $30? Nah, there are other options. I mean, I would actually recommend Tactics Ogre over this, and that's $50. But that's a game that's well worth it and is very in-depth and very satisfying. Even if you want a cheap tactical RPG, there are better ones out there so far. But then again, let me play a little more. Maybe it will change. But I'm going to guess likely not on this. Hour and a half played, it's okay. I just think there are much better ones out there. I honestly, so far, I would have rather wanted to play Disgaea again. That's how I put it. But anyway, that's God Wars. Okay, so let's get into some of the news that happened throughout the weekend and on Monday. There was rumors going around that Sony was in an acquiring spree. And the rumors were, there were about 3 studios. One was FromSoft. There was another one that I can't remember, but the main one was CD Projekt Red, the people that also have Good Old Games, or GOG, as well. That was the big rumor that was going around, and it was swirling throughout the weekend that this was going to happen. The CEO of CDPR came out and said, no, that's not happening. That's definitely not happening. We are not for sale, essentially. You know, for a CEO to come out and say that is pretty definitive, but let's also be honest, any studio is for sale for the right price. I think this is CD Projekt Red either saying, you know, we're really not interested, or the price that they gave us is kind of laughable, but we're going to keep that under our hat and see where it goes from there. So with that, if you read the rumor that Sony is going to be acquiring CD Projekt Red pretty soon, you might want to temper the expectations. That doesn't look like it's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to look like that From Software is going to do it either. Just to put that to rest, that rumor was going around throughout the weekend. That's not happening, according to CD Projekt Red. Next story, Nintendo blocks Dolphin Emulator on Steam, says it stifles innovation. Okay. Nintendo argues the use of the Wii Common Key helps bypass piracy protections. If you haven't gotten a Steam Deck, or if you're not into emulation at all, something rare happened around the time that the Steam Deck happened, which is that the Dolphin Emulator was released for Steam and the Steam Deck. And the Dolphin Emulator emulates GameCube and Wii games, essentially. And that was a very big deal at that point. But clearly, Nintendo was not happy about this. And what it sounds like they did was they really wanted to dig up a reason as to why they can get that off Steam. Because Nintendo, of any company, hates emulation, especially since they make money off of emulating their old games onto their services. They did it with the Virtual Console on the Wii and Wii U, and on the Switch they do it with the program that they have there to do NES and Super NES games and stuff like that. So they clearly have a business reason to not do it, so they need to come up with reasons to say you can't have that emulator because of X. And this is a good reason. The Wii Common Key basically bypassed any piracy protections that the Wii had. I guess they emulated that, or that they used that in order to make the emulator for Dolphin. And since that is proprietary technology, it was not allowed to be used, and the people who are using it right now, or are selling it, or putting it on the marketplace, they're filing it under DMCA that it was part of their legal protections to not be used in any sale or in any marketplace. Steam acquiesced and said, okay, fine, we don't want to have an issue with Nintendo. So they pretty much canned it on Steam. I think the emulation community is also worried that since they found that specific thing, that they might want to shit-can the entire Dolphin emulator, period, because of that. And I'm not sure that's going to happen, because the thing is that the emulators are legal, but the ROMs are not. But I guess in this case, with how they made that emulator for Wii, it might be illegal, because they are using their technology to do that. I think that's what makes the emulators legal, is that if you're not using the technology that was used by the company to emulate that specific system, then it's illegal. But if you're not, you're good. I'm not entirely sure. This is one of those times where I wish I had Zero around, because he probably would be able to tell me what the actual legality thing is of this, but he's not here, so what are we going to do? So yeah, if you're looking to get the Dolphin emulator on Steam and you haven't gotten it yet, it's not there anymore. But there are other ways to download Dolphin. You can find it on the internet. I ain't going to tell you, because I honestly don't know. Final story, The Last of Us multiplayer game has been scaled back. This means one of two things. Either they were having some scope creep and they decided, oh god, we can't complete this at the time we need it, so we're going to start taking away features and just basically make it something like what it had. Or basically, and this is like the really negative view, is that they're going to start downsizing the scope of the game itself and just make it the basic multiplayer that it was on Last of Us Part 1, I don't know, just make it a free-to-play game at that point. I think if they're scaling it back at this point, they really should not sell this separately on a disc. There is no reason why you should be paying for this. This should be a free-to-play game, and I don't even know if they've announced if it is or not. It might be. If they're scaling back the ambition of this game, at this point, they should just turn around and say, okay, we're just taking the mode from The Last of Us 1, and we're just going to put it on free-to-play. There'll be some added bibs and bobs that you can have in it, but that's all we're going to do at this point. Maybe we'll bolt on some things later, but that stinks. I know a lot of people were interested in that, but I think this also pretty much says that we're probably not going to see much on this at Summer Game Fest. That's my guess. I think that if we were going to see something, we would have seen it in the PlayStation Showcase, but it's looking like not at this point. So we will see if that gets announced sometime in the next month. I'm going to say no, but again, we will find out. So we're going to be at the top story today, and today's top story is that the new releases that are coming out this week. Instead of doing every month all the new releases, I'm going to do new releases per week. And I'm going to go over the ports, remasters, re-releases, remakes, and new releases. And we got a sizable amount of games that are coming out, and one big one that is coming out. So let's start with ports. First off, Chicory, A Colorful Tale is coming to Xbox Series X and Xbox One on May 30th. I think this was a PS4 game, or no, this was a Switch game. This was a Switch game that got some indie cred and indie buzz around the time it came out, I think 2 years ago. It got some good, favorable reviews, and it looks like people were really interested in that game, and it sold all right. And Microsoft got it for their system, and I think it's also on Game Pass. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. It's on May 30th. Another port is Company of Heroes 3, coming to Xbox Series X and PS5. That is also on May 30th. I think I've discussed this in other new release episodes as well. I really do not get why they keep trying to put RTSs into consoles. To me, it just does not feel right. I guess it's cool that they're trying it this time with that, and they're trying to innovate and trying to do different things. That's cool. I just don't think it's going to work. With the announcement that Relic has laid off about 120 people, I don't think they're expecting this to be a big sales mark either. So if you're interested, that's coming May 30th. And on June 1st, Skatebird is coming from PS5 and PS4. I don't think the reviews were very hot for this game. This came out on Xbox and Switch and PC about a year and a half ago. It was getting like some kind of talk because it looked cute when it was announced, but when it was released, it doesn't seem like a lot of people liked the game. Unless they've fixed it up, which is a possibility. They may have fixed it up a little. Expect the same game to a certain extent. So that is coming June 1st for PS5 and PS4. Next up, re-releases, remakes, and remasters. First one that I thought was probably going to get more press coverage and more people excited, which is just not happening, which is System Shock. It's coming to PC, and that might be why, because it's only coming to PC on May 30th. This is the remake of the first game. A lot of people think it is the game that influenced BioShock. I think that's where it started getting all that big word of mouth around that time. I've always wanted to play it. I've always wanted to try it, but I'm also really not into first-person shooters using keyboard and mouse, so that's a reason why I kind of steered clear of it. But if that's coming to consoles as well, hopefully I'll be able to play that with a controller, so we will see about that. I'm interested. I want to see what that turns out to be. June 1st, Etrian Odyssey Origins Collection, Switch and PC. I have the remakes of 1 and 2. I have 3 on the 3DS. I have all the Etrian Odyssey games on 3DS. This is a really good game. It's for hardcore fans that don't mind making maps while they're playing a really hard dungeon crawling RPG. It is a lot of fun. However, they are selling these both separately and together. If you want to buy Etrian Odyssey 1, 2, or 3 separately, they're $40 each, which is the price that they sold at the time when they first released. If you want all 3, it's $100. I think all the pricing of this is screwed up. Like they don't really do much in terms of updating the game. And as much as I do like these games, I still think it's way too pricey for what they're asking on them. I would wait, even if I bet the games are still fantastic, but even then, I would wait for a sale. That is way too much for the games. If this was $60 for everything, I'll be like, okay, that's perfect. But $40 for a single game and $100 for all three is highway robbery. I do not like the pricing structure of this, so that is my take on it. Great games, but for that price, no. Next re-release, remake, and remaster, We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie, coming to all systems. They released Katamari Damacy Reroll, I believe, 3 years ago, and that turned out pretty well. I remember not liking We Love Katamari so much, but that might be something I might want to give a second shot to, especially if they remake certain aspects of it, which I don't think they do. I think they just update the visuals. If you like the Katamari games and you like that they're remastering all these, this is another decent pickup. I think this is going for $30. There is not even a price for this game yet. I am going to bet the price is going to be $40, and then that's not worth it, if that's the case. Maybe 30 is okay. I would say this might be a $30 game, but likely a $40 game at this point. Okay, now we're on to the new releases. First new release is coming to all systems, including the Quest, Killer Frequency, coming June 1st. It is a first-person horror game, and I don't know much about it, but I also will admit I'm not a horror fan, so this is not something I'd be interested in. It kind of just looks like I'm saying this derisively because I actually like these types of games. It looks like a horror-themed walking simulator with some puzzles to it. What you have to do is you have to find out who the killer is in the game. Essentially is what it sounds like. So I guess if you're into those things, it looks interesting, but it's not something for me. It's Killer Frequency, coming out June 1st. June 2nd, Super Mega Baseball 4, coming to all systems. I have yet to play a Super Mega Baseball, to be absolutely honest. I've heard good things, but when they come out, it's usually in the middle of the season, like right now, and when I'm in the middle of MLB The Show, which is right now, so I'm likely not going to catch this again. I do have to give it a shot, though. I've heard good things about it, so I'm interested, and if you want arcade baseball that I've heard, honestly, is pretty good, check out Super Mega Baseball 4 coming on June 2nd. And the big release, which is probably going to be the Spotlight Game of the Week, or the Spotlight New Game of the Week, Street Fighter 6 coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, and PC. I will just say right now, I will be probably playing this for the weekly dividend on Friday. I'm excited for this game. I've already gotten it on PC. I'm waiting for it to be released. Everything I've heard when it comes to the fighting and everything sounds fantastic. I can't wait to try out the World Tour mode. I am definitely interested in checking that out. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this turns out. Street Fighter V was kind of a disappointment. I didn't really get into it. There were some characters I liked, but the way that they released it and the way it started rolling out was just really unsatisfying. So and this was after loving Street Fighter 4. Like, Street Fighter V was a severe disappointment. So I'm excited to see how Street Fighter 6 turns out, and I think it looks like it's going to turn out really well. So I am excited to see what happens with Street Fighter 6. So that comes out June 2nd. Expect for me to play that on the weekly dividend and talk more about it then. All right, so that is the end of this episode of Capital Games. Again, today I am going to be doing the review of Miami Vice with Zero. We should expect that out on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to have another episode, and I'm likely going to talk about the reviews of Street Fighter 6 and all the news that happened that time. Friday is the weekly dividend. Saturday, me and Kim Shackman are going to be reviewing Die Hard. And if you haven't watched it, okay, I'm sorry to hear that, but you should. But if you want to listen to our review, that will be coming out Saturday. But until then, this is Capital Games. I am the Wiz. Talk to you next time. Bye.